I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 145 of the Future Template Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Carolyn Solo, PhD, LCSW, EMDR consultant, coach for EMDR therapist, mom of 3 daughters. Today is part 2 of my 2-part mini-series on structural and policy considerations for your EMDR intensive practice. Last week, we talked about the optimal structure for an intensive, in my opinion, the 3-day model, but why having multiple intensive offerings can actually decrease your overall bookings, and how rock solid, clear, consistent fee structures, cancellation policies, and booking policies create a safe therapeutic container for your client and for you. Today, we're going to talk more concretely about practice structure. How do you go from 20 plus weekly clients to an intensive focused practice without driving yourself cuckoo banana pants? That's my friend's favorite non-ableist term that I have co-opted. Without losing income or without feeling like you're being unethical and letting clients down. I'll share my own journey a little bit in my practice, as well as sharing insights from the therapists I've worked with over the years in my coaching and what they have seen. Hopefully this will spare you some of the growing pains that many of us have had. We know that one of the many things I love about intensives is the time freedom that it creates for clinicians. We're used to structuring our EMDR practice around 5, 6, sometimes 7 sessions, 50 minutes each, back to back, minimal breaks, 5 days a week even. And our training, our colleagues, other experiences in the field tell us this is okay, it's normal, it's fine. And if it burns us out, that we're the problem. But, as so many of us know, it's utterly exhausting and draining and depleting. People burn out, people leave the field, requires constant context switching. One client to another, different histories, different targets, different nervous systems, different clinical needs, all within an 8-hour day. That cognitive load adds up quickly, and I don't believe our systems are designed for this. Neuroscience tells us that context switching creates significant cognitive load. So every time you're switching from one client to another, your brain is shutting down the neural pathways that you were using for that previous client, booting up the neural pathways for the new client, rebuilding relational presence, reorienting to a completely different nervous system, state, and relationship. This takes real energy. And then there's the mental load of the caseload that you're carrying. Some weeks you have clients who are struggling a lot. Some weeks, maybe you're up at late or scrambling at the 10 minutes between sessions, reading about a new intervention that you hope will help a client who seems stuck. You're trying to remember all the names, important events, details, follow-up. And intensives can free you from that load. Okay, great. Intensives are incredible. So how are we going to get you from that 25 client week to whatever it is you want your practice to be? Something that I see working really well with the therapists I work with, and is more or less what I do myself now, is 2 weeks out of the month are reserved for ongoing clients and additional income streams that a lot of them have, whether it's a group or consultation. And those ongoing clients with longer sessions usually. And then 2 weeks are reserved for the week-long intensives. Some months could have 2 week-long intensives. Some months could have 1 and a week off, or an admin week, or a catch-up week. I feel like most therapists think about their calendar kind of like a filing system. You're filling the slots, you're moving things around, you're optimizing for money. But your schedule really isn't a filing system. It's like the operating system for your entire practice, and therefore for your nervous system. And it's particularly vital as you're moving from that 25 session pigeonhole schedule to the intentional intensive schedule to do this in a way that actually works and doesn't tax you more. So let me give you a real example of what this actually looks like in practice, because, theory only matters if it works. So here's what one clinician I work with does. 1 week per month, she's reserving for a 3-day intensive, usually Thursday to Saturday. She plans these ahead based on what works for her. She can be booked 3-4 months out for this. And then she's got 3 weeks per month divided into week 1. She has a bi-weekly group. and 50-minute sessions with a small number of clients. Okay, small number. Week 2, she's got some 90-minute sessions and 120-minute sessions with a few clients. Week 3, she's got another group and some of those 50 and 90-minute sessions and a little bit of EMDR consultation work. So in any given month, she's doing 1 3-day intensive. So that's 15 hours of client work, 2 bi-weekly group sessions that are 2 hours each, maybe 4 50-minute sessions total, 8 to 12 individual sessions at 90 or 120 minutes, and then 1 EMDR consultation cohort, which kind of moves around. Total revenue, comparable to her. Well, actually, it's higher. Sorry, not comparable. It is comparable and higher. Context switching has dropped a lot in terms of like the number of hours. She's not prepping as much. She has less, fewer clients and fewer cases to conceptualize. Her clinical depth has increased massively. Her energy at the end of the week is noticeably different. She actually has time to think more strategically about her practice. And I don't know why I said that comparable revenue. Her revenue is actually up 50%. Okay. And she's got predictability and control. She knows exactly which week of the month intensives happen. She knows which weeks are going to be lighter. She can plan her life around it. No more like, oh, my schedule's a surprise to me energy. Look like, oh God, what's coming up? And those longer sessions with fewer transitions, something really shifts, right? You're settling into the work. You're not constantly bracing for that next transition. You're following the client's process more deeply. This is even true, of course, in the 90-minute or 2-hour session. And then in 3-day intensive, you're in a totally different neurobiological state. You're like vitally connected to this client's nervous system. And you can really close it down at the end of the week. So in some ways, intensives can feel almost like a different modality. The nervous system you're in is so different than the one that you're in with the constant 50-minute session switching. So of course, that's going to give clients so much better care. So I'm sure some of you are listening to this and thinking, this sounds great, but I can't just reorganize my entire schedule. I have established clients. I've been seeing them for a long time. I have commitments. Right. You don't need to blow up your practice at once. But I want you to think that there's a framework for this transition. Okay. So first step, right, is you really want to define your ideal schedule, which I guarantee is not your current schedule. And this is a major thing that I focus on with any coaching client, like way at the beginning. Exactly what should this look like for you and your practice? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? Okay. And if you need this work, I'm here. Let's chat. Okay. Link is in the bio for a consult call so we can talk about this and see if I can help you here. So you want to think about a sustainable week and month and what that looks like for you. For some people, that's 2 weeks of 2-hour sessions, 1 week of intensives, 1 admin week. For others, it's 3 weeks of 50 and 90-minute sessions, 1 week of intensives. For others, it's full intensives with no ongoing clients. And for others, there's other income streams, sprinkled in there. There's no right answer, but you need to know what your answer is. And then I also want you to do a capacity audit. How many established clients do you currently have? What's the clinical stability of each? Not all clients are the same, right? Some are deeply in trauma processing, some are in maintenance, consolidation, some are stable enough to transition, right? Whether this means transitioning to every other week for longer sessions, or maybe even time for a break from therapy for a while, or a different therapist. I know that can feel scary to hear. And some clients may not like these changes you're making. They like 50-minute weekly sessions. And they are allowed to want that. And you are allowed to not offer that any longer and to find a good fit for them to refer to. Because if your practice shifts and doesn't fit them anymore, that's a reason to refer out. And a lot of clients don't even know that there's any other option. So that they're not asking for it because maybe they don't even know they can, or they have ever thought about it, right? And then, so you're going to do that capacity audit, right? Look at your caseload, think about that. Where are there spaces you could think about different things for different clients as you move towards that schedule that you want? And then, of course, you need a transition timeline. This is not going to happen overnight. You're going to use some natural attrition combined with intentional restructuring and really honest and concrete conversations with clients. So natural attrition means, clients who take breaks, clients who finish treatment, clients who move away, clients who are naturally starting to space out, and clients who decide that they don't want to work in the new way that you're offering. I will say that happens less than you might think. A lot of people really like these new changes, and so you might not lose as many clients as you may be thinking you will, or maybe even hoping you will. So that might not be enough. Like if you're just like, well, I'm going to be offering 2-hour sessions to all clients, current clients now. What if everyone says yes? So, but a lot of people are afraid that nobody will say yes, which I've never seen happen. But you're going to work with that natural attrition to gradually shift your schedule architecture. And I would say it takes most therapists 6 to 12 months to get their structure to really where they want it to be, right? Depending on your client population and how quickly you want to move forward and how really solidly committed you are to this, if you really stick to it and don't waver. And then you need to communicate clearly. That's step 4. If you're changing how you schedule clients, you need to tell them, not apologetically, clearly, compassionately, and professionally. I suggest sending a letter to everyone and then with, plenty of time in advance so that then you can talk about it with them in session. And, I'm restructuring my schedule as of X date to provide deeper, more intensive treatment for clients. Here's what that could look like. Just keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Don't over apologize or explain, and make sure you're giving them a timeline. I think 3 to 4 months is plenty for planning for this transition. 2 months might be a bit short, and more than 4 starts to feel really drawn out. But 3 to 4 months, there's lots of time for discussion, to talk potential referrals if needed, to tie up the work that needs to be tied up. And hey, you can offer 3-day intensives to current clients as well. So don't forget that. Most clients appreciate knowing that you're being intentional about your work and how you care for yourself, and you're allowed to change your practice. A therapist I'm working with, when we were talking about this, told the story about how she had an OBGYN whom she really, really, really loved, had worked with for years. And then, she got a letter from that person that they were switching their practice to all OB and no longer doing GYN care. My client, or the therapist, was, I wouldn't say she was upset. She wasn't happy because it meant she had to choose somebody else, but she wasn't like, how dare this person do that to me? Right? So why do we think that that's the response we're most likely going to get? There could be a couple of people who have that response. That's possible, and I've seen that, but most people, no. So it's not unethical to do this either. Some people are like, oh, I'm abandoning my clients. Abandoning your client means you drop off the face of the earth with barely any notice and don't give them any referrals. That is the technical definition of abandoning a client, okay? If you're doing 3 to 4 months and you're doing this whole process that I'm describing, that is not abandonment, okay? And hey, if some of you have made changes to your practice before, like when you switched off of insurance panels, some of the same stuff comes up and you still did it. So this is possible too. So great. You've got some idea of what you want your schedule to look like. You've made changes. You're moving towards that new schedule. But doubt and uncertainty can creep in. A therapist I'm working with now has made great intentional changes to her schedule and is getting closer and closer to where she wants to be, both in terms of time and income. But she's also told me this. As my schedule slows down and I freak out about it, I start considering adding more 3-day intensives. But then I'm not getting, enough consults to support 3 3-day intensives a month because she doesn't want that really. But so what I know I need to work on is my marketing, right? Not filling it up with other stuff. So she saw that. And so, I think it's a balance between, does she really want to be doing more 3-day intensives? If that is what she wants, she needs to up the marketing. If it isn't what she wants, should she increase the price on her intensives? There's lots of things to play with. But I thought what was really important was she said, I need to work on my marketing, right? So when your calendar gets thin, I think the instinct can be add more offerings, lower barriers, book anything and anyone, 50-minute clients. but she did something smarter. She saw the real problem. It's my visibility, right? She doesn't need to open up more. She needs better marketing. Specifically, I think SEO and AI optimized content, AIO, so that referral sources actually know she offers intensives and can find her when they're looking for her. So this is the difference between like scarcity thinking. My calendar is slow. I need to add more things, make myself more available. And then, I don't know, clarity thinking. Ooh, I like that. Scarcity versus clarity. My calendar is slow, so I need to ensure that the people who would value what I do actually know I exist. The scarcity thinking leads to dilution and burnout. That clarity thinking, sustainability, the referrals you actually want. So, and when you're focusing that time on that you have a little more time in your schedule as things open up, you focus that energy on becoming findable instead of scrambling to find filler money, right? Then you become findable and referral sources find you, right? Clients find you and your calendar fills the way you want it to. So, but this also hints at what she said, something I think that doesn't get talked about enough when we're talking about sustainable scheduling. When you make the transition to a more spacious, intentional schedule, it often feels really wrong at first. One clinician, therapist client, clinician, business coaching client, said this: my weeks of regular clients now feel really open. It's making me panic a little, but I'm not sure if it's actually a problem or if I'm just used to grinding back to back with little breaks. A more normal schedule feels light. She said it herself, right? And that feeling is real. You're not imagining it, but it's, for years, decades, your nervous system has been habituated to this constant context switching, activation, back-to-back clients, minimal breaks, high cortisol, low rest. A more sane and healthy schedule, it takes a while for your nervous system to interpret this as normal because you're adapted to that abnormal state. When you've been running at like 85 to 90% capacity for that long, your brain starts to interpret that level of stimulation as safe or maybe just familiar, at least familiar. So transitioning to a more spacious schedule can take time. Your nervous system might clock it as emptiness, not relief. And it's kind of triggering, right? So many therapists who make this transition will say things like, my calendar has openings and I'm panicking. I have more time and I don't know what to do with myself. Maybe I should add something new. Something feels wrong and I don't know what it is. But the thing that's wrong, maybe it's actually the thing that's right. Your nervous system is just still catching up. Another sort of story along this line, one therapist I work with had two regular clients, like during this transition, right, had two regular clients that she was working with asked to take breaks in the same week. Her immediate reaction was panic. Oh no, my calendar just got thinner, revenue going down, I need to book some more clients. But then she remembered, oh wait, I'm trying to reduce my caseload. That's been part of this whole process. But she's never been in a position where reducing her caseload was the goal, so it feels really weird. So she asked herself, am I actually under-resourced? Like, am I not getting my needs met financially? Or am I uncomfortable with space, right? So we talked about doing the math. We asked, is she meeting her income goals? Yes. Is her practice financially stable? Yes. Did she have a calendar with openings? Yes, which is exactly what she said she wanted. Was what she was doing unsustainable? No. So what was the problem? She just wasn't accustomed to it. So we worked on, instead of panic booking or adding more offerings that she didn't really want, we sat with the discomfort, right? We noticed it. We checked in about it. We didn't immediately fill the space. She gave herself permission to have open time. And then things started to shift for her, right? She used that space to actually slow down, to think about her practice instead of just surviving it, to be intentional about what she wanted to do next. And over time, her practice was getting to the place it wanted to be, right? So if you're in this place where your schedule has openings and it's making you anxious, ask yourself, one, am I actually under earning, right? If you've added intensives, probably not. Question 2, is this unsustainable? Can you sustain the schedule for 5 or 10 years? Maybe you can. Well, that's kind of a hard question. Let's say 1 year. Does it just feel uncomfortable because it's new, not because it's not sustainable? Are you meeting your financial goals? Because if you are, then you can literally afford the space. You've just never given yourself permission to use it. And then, so important, if you're feeling this discomfort of space, what is this discomfort actually trying to tell me? What is that part of you, right, trying to tell you? Is it telling me my practice is failing? Or is it telling me I'm in the process of adjusting to a new normal, right? It's not a problem, it's a transition. And transitions, as we know, are uncomfortable, but they're where growth happens, all right? You have permission to have a spacious schedule. You have permission to have your schedule look the way you want. You have permission to structure your life around what works for you, not what maximizes revenue or fills all your time. And you can notice when your nervous system starts to panic, but you don't have to immediately be reactive. You can be compassionate. You don't have to act. It's the difference between your nervous system saying, this isn't what I'm used to, and something is wrong, right? Something else about money, transitioning here. If you're shifting to longer sessions and fewer total clients, at first your initial client revenue might dip, but hopefully, and this is one of the reasons why I think working with a coach can be helpful, you can structure your practice so that doesn't happen. And it has a lot to do with the fee setting for the other offerings that you're having, your intensives, your longer sessions. So I just really want to encourage you to think about the fee setting as well, right? A 90-minute session or a 2-hour session should not be the same rate as a 50-minute session. And certainly a multi-day intensive should be much more, okay? So, that's why I think being really honest about fee setting in this transition is also super important. And this isn't a one-time fix, right? Like building a practice that suits you structurally is an ongoing practice of clarity, right? Every time you're tempted to take a client that doesn't fit for whatever reason, whatever fit means, whether it's time or model or, all those things, ask yourself, is this person a fit or am I filling this space out of anxiety, right? Every time your calendar opens up, ask yourself, is this actually a problem with my practice or am I just adapting to the new normal, right? These are like every time you think about adding something new, all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to start offering 3-hour intensive packages over 2 months. Is that what you really want? Are you diluting what you're known for? Are you doing it from a place of fear or alignment? Because if you stop thinking along those lines, you drift back into old patterns. I've done this myself. I'll just take on this client. And then you're kind of moving back into fragmentation. You're moving towards burnout. You might even get yourself to a place where you're like, now I feel like I need to, shift my client load again, right? The practices that are sustainable are the ones where you stay committed to clarity, even when it feels uncomfortable. And I'll say it one last time. If you need help with this process, if it feels really daunting and overwhelming, I have worked with so many therapists to move through this exact transition. And I know I can help you with it. And of course, my coaching covers many, many other things, but this is certainly a very important place that we spend a lot of time. So I have a few 90-minute intensive spots where we just work together for 90 minutes. We could work on just exactly this. This is a great 90-minute intensive, focus point. Or if you want to do the whole like soup to nuts approach with marketing and clinical tools and all the stuff that my larger coaching packages offer, I do have some one-to-one ongoing spots, like a 3-month commitment where we meet twice a month. There's ongoing communication between sessions. If any of that is of interest to you, link is in the show notes for booking a 20-minute free consult with me just to talk through what your options might be. So I'm very excited for next week's episode. We have a wonderful therapist from Colorado who specializes in working, like blending IFS and EMDR in her intensives. Her name is Yishim Seldivia, and on Instagram, she's at Heal with Yish. So stay tuned for that. She's a wonderful therapist I've met through Instagram. We had a great conversation. I know you will enjoy it. So that's next week. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. Take good care of yourselves. I hope spring is springing where you are and infusing you with a little pep in your step, like it has been for me. Take good care, everyone, and be well. And I will speak to you very soon. Bye.